Well, hello again. Right now I am working on the cabinet of a Crosley, 1935 Crosley 635. Now this cabinet had a chassis from a Crosley 655 in it. And it took me a little while to figure that out because the tube complement on the chassis was not matching what the 635 should be. So I searched around a little bit more, and I discovered that the 655, which the radio is almost identical, the cabinet and the chassis are almost identical. So they were able to take a 655, put it in a 635, and the only difference that I could find was the knobs were different between the two. So right now I'm sanding it down. It was pretty rough. It's pretty rough, and the veneer was completely peeling up over it. I had to remove it, couldn't save it, and I have to glue a lot of that back down. Now it comes to a point now on these radios. I'm working on the cabinet first. Normally I work on the chassis, then I do the cabinet, but I'm going to do the cabinet first, mainly because the chassis has a burned out candome resistor. Those of you who don't know what a candome resistor is, look it up. And what's in this package, plus what's coming in probably in a day or two, we'll fix that candome resistor because we're going to yank it out of there and put something different. What's in the envelopes. We'll show you that later. This is going to be it's not going to be a long project, but it's not going to be a short one either. But I've got everything pretty much sanded down. I've taken care of the inside. The inside was atrocious. Just atrocious. Just one of the worst I've ever seen. I don't know, it had all kind of black crap all over the inside of it. It was like somebody sprayed this glue gun in there. See all these little spots you see right here? Well, on the bottom they were all black. It looked like gobs of glue. I was able to take my chisel and just gently scrape all that crap out of there. I've still got one to go right here. These were just pads. This one here was a pad and a pad, so when you push the chassis forward it would press against those and not directly against the wood. So I'll have to replace those. Plus there were pads here, as you can see the mark here, here, and here. And there was a little pad in the front here that the chassis sat on, so we'll have to get that squared away. I'll use something for that. I don't know what. Something, maybe just put pads on the four corners of the chassis and something in the front here. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, this here was all flaking off, and when you have a situation like this, I don't want to strip the entire cabinet down. That would be sacrilegious as far as I'm concerned, but some parts had to be done because the stuff, you could take your fingernail like that and it would just fall right off. So you got to get rid of that. It's not going to hold any stain or any toner or any finish. It's just not going to happen. So what you do is you go gently, lightly over it like this with fairly coarse sandpaper, and not real coarse, but fairly coarse, and it'll remove the loose crap for you. And you don't have to put any pressure at all. It'll just come off practically all by itself. And then when you get down, when you just barely put a little pressure on there, and you notice that no more is coming off, that's what can stay. Okay. And then you can go ahead and stain over the top of that, put your toner in. That stuff is adhered to the wood. The rest of it just flaky, man, just flaky. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, how easy the stuff comes off. Some of this stuff is just barely hanging on, it seemed like to me. So you take your little coarse sandpaper and just a little bit of pressure from your hand, not much, and you'll begin to see how quickly this stuff's coming off. Just barely touching it, just falling off all by itself. Now, you don't want that on there because it's going to mess up the whole finish and everything. Now finally some of it's beginning to stay. Of course I'm going to have to use my hand to hold the cabinet still. And then when you finally get it down to where what's going to come off is going to come off, you have to do it maybe 2 or 3 times. Take your medium sanding block and just kind of go over it like that. And the stuff that stays is what you keep. Okay? Now I'll go over just a little bit more and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, we're getting over here to the corner. And that stuff, boy, I tell you, it just practically falls off on its own. I could probably just tell it get off of there, and it would probably go off by itself. Anyway, you got to get rid of it. You hate to do it, but, look. Remember, we're preserving this stuff for future generations, okay? If you don't do it right, it may not last future generations. Just got to do what you got to do. Something I'm barely putting pressure on for my hand. I use barely. And then of course now the rest of the radio, I don't know what I'm going to do about the rest of the radios. I'm one of these guys, I like to see a little bit of antique-y look to them. It's, I call them battle scars of a bygone era. Of course we have our obligatory white paint. Every radio, there's some more right there. Obligatory white paint. Got to have white paint on these old chassis and cabinets and everything else. I'm going to sand the bottom and get these nails out of here. This crap, boy, this was really a bad idea by our aunts. Now here's some more of this stuff I was telling you about. This is what it looked like on the inside of the cabinet. All kinds of black crap. Looked like glue or something. Like they shot it with a spray gun or something. Next comes this. What I'm going to do with the rest of it, I don't know. Maybe a light sanding. I got this big dig right here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Here's some more obligatory. Oh, that's not white paint. Come on, that's got to be more than that. And I have to do a lot of gluing. They use nails to put this top down. 6 nails, 7 nails. Yeah. Anyway, that's what we're doing right now. I'll probably just give this a light sanding with very fine sandpaper. I really don't want to take it all off. And I sure don't want to remove this burl. This is, or some of the finish is already gone right here. Don't ask me why. But this is burl. And burl wood, if you don't, you know, this stuff, first of all, this stuff's expensive. But to me, antique, original burl veneer looks really nice. I try to keep as much of it as I can. Well, that's it for the cabinet for now. When I get this all done, you'll see it then. I've sanded the fluted columns on both sides. Again, the stain and stuff just came right off. The finish just I don't know what was holding it on, but it just barely stayed on. But I don't want to do the same thing for the front of the cabinet. Right now I'm using goop. And you can see the crud that's coming off this thing. I want to clean it up really good and wash it down and before I do anything more. But look at that burl. Look, isn't that nice? Burl is like the twisted root area of a tree, the ball, and they take it and this is 2 pieces. You see that line coming down the center there? There's 2 pieces, one on each side. And it's very difficult to duplicate that. So it's always nice to, you know, the shade is aged, it's old. You're never going to get a piece. The only way you can do it is like to strip it all off. I don't want to do that. There's nothing wrong with this. It's got a few chips here and there that I'm going to leave. Battle scars of a bygone era. That's my philosophy. Always has been. Let me get another piece of paper and I'll keep rubbing. I'll show you the finished product. Well, that's going to look pretty good. I like that. I hope the camera's picking up how nice that looks. I think my camera might be on the way out. I don't know. Might have to buy another one. It's done hundreds of videos. Anyway, I've got some of this lint, I guess they call it lint-free cloth. I don't know, I forget what they call it. I can't, whatever they call this cloth where there's no lint or whatever it is. I don't use it that much, so I can't even remember what it's for. What it's called. Boy, I'll tell you, this was really nasty on the front. It didn't look like much to begin with, but it looks a whole lot better now. A lot of use this radio's had. Boy, there was a ton of dirt around each of these knobs. Ton of dirt. It probably belonged to a blue-collar worker too, or a farmer, because there was a lot of dirt there. You know, your blue-collar farmer types. They come home and they sit down, turn the radio on. They don't run in and get your hands all sanitized and everything. Not back in those days, they didn't. They came in, sat down, and rested. Mama went and got them a little something to eat because they were worn out, poor guys. Same with the boys they might have had. They were out there with the old man every day. Okay, now this pretty much takes most of it off, but now I have to do it again with damp cloth, so I got to get it out of the holes, do what I can. It is pitiful. They're microfiber towels. Okay, everybody knows but me. All right, I'll never forget that. What did I say they were? All right, we're going to go ahead now. Look, you don't want your rag so wet that you soak the veneer and the veneer starts coming off, okay? Use your head with this stuff. You got to use your brain. So you want to get it wiped off. Now there's still some stuff on there, as you can see. Let's see if I see it. Okay. So you got to take your time. I even went ahead and put the goop over here, or the go. You can use Gojo or goop hand cleaner, not with lanolin. Not with lanolin. You want the plain, and you don't want the gritty ones either. You want the cream with no lanolin. Okay. But it takes it takes a while. You got to wipe, you got to rinse, you got to wipe, you got to rinse. But you always use just a damp towel. Don't be using sopping wet. This is the next day, and I'm not sure I know how to conduct myself. The sun is out. No rain, no clouds. From what I understand, I've got 3 days of this, and then it's back into the rain. So I better take advantage of it. I have decided that before lightly sanding both sides, there's even a nail sticking out up there. This cabinet was not done very well. Anyway, I've decided that before I sand it down very lightly, I'm going to go ahead and clean it with some of the goop. See what I can get off of it first. As you can see, nails come out right here. A nail has come out right here. If I can get a little focus, there we go. The nail head is exposed. These two nail heads are exposed right there. See if I can get a focus on that. Why is this being blurry on me? Weird, huh? Anyway, there's a couple of nail heads sticking out there. Really bad. I'm going to fix all that. We'll fill this. This is another bad job on a nail. I don't know. And another one. This was all factory work too. I don't know. This thing here should have been countersunk and filled, and it wasn't. Okay, let's clean it, see what we can do. Well, it's not too bad. Not as bad as I thought. I haven't finished doing the entire thing. I'm really scrubbing hard on this. I want to really scrub hard. Hopefully it'll take some of this white crap off also, and I won't have to mess with that too much. At least take some of it off. I want that baby to be scrubbed this time, not just rubbed off. I'm going to do this a couple of times actually. It's getting dirtier and dirtier. Well, that looks pretty good. We got all the white crap off anyway. I'm real happy about that. I haven't wiped all of the side down with a damp cloth. I'll do that after I finish the second side, but she looks really good so far. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot of work to bring this thing back. Again, we have a couple of chips at the bottom. Not going to worry about that. I am going to fill this hole in here. Now look, anytime on this veneer, I'm not sure I'm even going to mess with this. I might leave these two little nail heads right where they're at. You know, basically, if it's not broke, don't fix it, okay? It just doesn't look great, but I doubt that anyone will even notice once it's stained. Now this nail head here will have to be countersunk. When you countersink them, make sure you put a little super glue down in there to keep them from coming back out, okay? Then go ahead and do a filler if you need to. Not sure I'm going to do that. I got to do something with this though. This is definitely the worst of the bunch. I'm going to put me some super glue down there though. Keep those nail heads down in. This one I may countersink just a touch. And it's just right at the surface. I think it might be on its way out. These are the kinds of things you have to decide as you go along. It's not that this whole camera's having a lot of trouble focusing in here today on this bright sunlight. Now these deep scratches that were here, as you can see, they've turned dark. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of hoping it stays that way. And I was thinking that if I rubbed hard enough and it picked up a lot of the old wax and stain as I cleaned and rubbed over these real good, that it would basically fill it in and leave it dark, and it wouldn't be noticeable. It would just be, again, a battle scar of a bygone era. Now the thing is, I'm going to wipe down both sides with a damp rag. Will it continue to be like that, or is it going to turn white again? We'll see. Alright, both sides are done. They look really nice, you know. After I get the Restora finish, I think it's called, on both sides, and this part right here, and this part right here in the front, I think that's really going to look nice. But that'll kind of give you an idea what it's going to look like when it's finished. I just wet it down with the damp cloth to make sure it's all clean. This side over here, the scratch marks, the only one that's noticeable now is This one right here, you might not even be able to see it. You can barely see it right there. But that restore finish will finish that off and make everything look real nice. So right now I have to go through the process of gluing a bunch of wood down. I've got wood here, I got to clamp it, put the wood glue underneath the veneer, clamp it all down. It's going to probably be about a 3 or 4 day process waiting for the glue to dry. A lot of veneer loose up here in the corner. You got to get that down. You don't want that kind of stuff sticking up. You got to be meticulous about this. Get everything glued nice and tight on the cabinet. Don't go crazy with the glue. Wipe it off. After you get it down in there and you clamp it, wipe off every bit you can get, and then let it dry for a couple hours. You know, if you don't, it doesn't take a ton of glue, is what I'm trying to say, to glue veneer down. And after that all gets clamped down and everything, I'm going to put a fresh piece up here. I'm going to iron it on with an iron. I've got some out in the garage, and I'm hoping it's wide enough. If it's not, I'll just buy another piece and cut it. But I think that thing's going to look really nice once it gets all done with a seal, a stain, and a finish. It's going to look really good. So we're going to knock off this video here, and we'll pick it up next time after I've done all the gluing. And gluing is boring. You don't need to look at that. One more thing I'll be doing is I'll take some of that Minwax pre-stain treatment. I'm going to just go ahead and seal the entire inside here. You've seen me do that 100 times on 100 different videos. Just take a brush and brush it all in there and seal that thing all up. The purpose of pre-stain treatment that Minwax has, I really like the stuff, is to prevent blotchy staining. You know, it seals it up, and when you stain it, it makes an even stain. You don't have blotches and different colors here and there. I kind of like that. So until next time, this is John.